The black SUV screeched to a stop just as three masked men surrounded a terrified woman outside an empty parking garage. The streetlights flickered in the heavy rain, leaving the narrow alley in long shadows. One of the men grabbed the woman's arm while another snatched her phone and smashed it onto the pavement. "Stay out of this," one of them barked as a lone figure stepped from the darkness. The man didn't raise his voice or clench his fists. He simply looked at them with calm determination. "You picked the wrong father to threaten, gentlemen." The attackers laughed. To them, he looked like an ordinary office worker wearing a worn-out jacket and carrying a backpack. They had no idea that the quiet stranger had spent years solving impossible problems under pressure, and that protecting people was simply part of who he was. His name was Ethan Cole, an IT specialist and a devoted single father. Since losing his wife to a long illness, every part of his life revolved around his 7-year-old daughter, Lily. He woke before sunrise to make her breakfast, braid her hair as best he could, and walk her to school before taking on freelance computer repair jobs. Life wasn't easy, but Ethan never let Lily see his worries. She often asked why he smiled even on difficult days. "Because courage is contagious," he would tell her. "If I smile, maybe someone else will find the strength to smile too." Just 6 months earlier, Ethan had been one of the most respected cybersecurity engineers at one of the city's largest technology companies. He wasn't interested in promotions or fame. His greatest satisfaction came from preventing cyberattacks and keeping millions of customers safe. Everything changed when he uncovered evidence that someone inside the executive team was secretly leaking confidential client information. After weeks of gathering proof, Ethan prepared a detailed report, convinced that honesty would protect the company. Instead, his integrity would cost him everything. Ethan walked into the executive boardroom carrying a folder filled with logs, security reports, and digital evidence. Every document pointed to the same conclusion: someone with high-level access had been quietly stealing sensitive company data for months. He believed the truth would be welcomed. Instead, the room fell silent. At the head of the table sat CEO Victoria Hart, known throughout the industry for her sharp instincts and uncompromising leadership. She skimmed only a few pages before placing the folder on the polished table. "These are serious accusations, Mr. Cole," she said. "Do you have any idea what kind of panic this could create?" "I wouldn't be here if I weren't certain," Ethan replied calmly. "The evidence has been verified several times. If we act now, we can stop whoever is behind this." One executive exchanged a nervous glance with another. Ethan noticed it immediately, but before he could speak again, Victoria stood. "I can't allow baseless claims against my leadership team," she said firmly. "Effective immediately, you're relieved of your duties." The words hit harder than he expected. Security entered the room within minutes. As Ethan packed the few belongings from his desk, dozens of coworkers watched in uncomfortable silence. Some looked away. Others seemed to want to defend him but feared losing their own jobs. Outside the building, Ethan paused and looked back at the company he had helped protect for nearly a decade. He wasn't angry as much as he was disappointed. He knew the real danger was still inside those walls, hidden behind expensive suits and confident smiles. When he reached home that evening, Lily greeted him with a hug and proudly showed him a drawing of the two of them holding hands beneath a bright blue sky. No matter how difficult life became, Ethan promised himself that he would never let his daughter lose faith in kindness, honesty, or hope. The weeks that followed tested Ethan in ways no cybersecurity crisis ever had. Job interviews ended the moment recruiters recognized his name. Rumors spread quickly through the tech industry that he had been dismissed for misconduct, and no one bothered to hear his side of the story. The truth remained buried beneath lies carefully planted by someone determined to protect themselves. Bills piled up on the kitchen table. Ethan sold his motorcycle first, then his expensive computer equipment, keeping only the laptop he needed for freelance work. Eventually, he and Lily moved from their comfortable home into a small apartment on the edge of the city. It wasn't much, but Ethan made it feel warm by filling it with laughter, bedtime stories, and homemade dinners. Every evening, Lily sat beside him while he repaired broken laptops and removed viruses for neighborhood customers. She loved watching her father solve problems that others couldn't. "You always fix everything," she said one night with a proud smile. Ethan chuckled softly. "Not everything, sweetheart. But I never stop trying." One rainy evening, as thunder echoed outside, Lily looked around their tiny apartment and quietly asked, "Daddy, are we poor now?" For a moment, Ethan's heart ached. He knelt beside her and gently brushed a strand of hair from her face. "We may have less money than before," he said, "but we're rich in the things that matter most: love, honesty, and the courage to help others." Lily wrapped her arms around him. "I like being rich like that." Across town, Victoria Hart believed the worst days were behind her. The board had praised her decisive leadership after Ethan's dismissal, and the company appeared to be thriving. New investors arrived, profits climbed, and every quarterly report looked stronger than the last. But appearances can be deceiving. Late one evening, the company's cybersecurity monitoring system began triggering unusual alerts. Confidential files were disappearing, encrypted backups were being erased, and millions of dollars were quietly moving through a web of fake accounts. At first, senior managers dismissed the warnings as technical glitches. Within hours, the truth became impossible to ignore. The company's entire digital infrastructure was under attack. Emergency meetings stretched through the night as engineers scrambled to contain the damage, but every solution seemed to make things worse. Whoever was behind the attack knew the company's systems inside and out. They anticipated every move before it happened. Victoria stood silently in the control room, watching screens fill with flashing red warnings. For the first time in years, she felt completely powerless. Then one of the remaining cybersecurity analysts spoke carefully. "There's only one person I've ever seen stop something this sophisticated." Victoria looked up. "Who?" The analyst hesitated before answering. "Ethan Cole." The room fell silent. Memories of the boardroom flooded back, the report she barely read, the accusations she made, and the humiliation of having security escort him out. A painful realization settled over her. Ethan hadn't been the problem. He had been the only person telling the truth. Before Victoria could decide what to do next, her phone rang from an unknown number. A cold voice spoke. "You ignored the warning. Now you're going to pay." The call ended. Moments later, the lights in the building went dark, and outside, black SUVs rolled silently into the parking lot, surrounding the headquarters from every direction. Her innocent words gave Ethan more strength than any paycheck ever could. The next morning, he accepted another small freelance assignment, unaware that across town, the hidden traitor inside his former company had just launched the most dangerous cyberattack yet, one that would place CEO Victoria Hart in far greater danger than losing her business.